Tuesday, 9:14 a.m. A meeting invite appears on your calendar. Your manager, someone from HR. No agenda, no explanation. You already know what it means, the way you always know, somehow, seconds before you open it. Over 3 million Americans will get this exact meeting in 2026. Most of them think about it exactly once, in the parking lot, on the way out, holding a small cardboard box. But the meeting itself isn't actually the moment that decides what happens to you next. What happens over the next 6 months depends on a completely different number. Not your salary, not your resume, not how good you are at your job. It's how many months of expenses you already had saved before that invite ever showed up. Let's run the exact same layoff 5 times, at 5 different savings levels, and watch how differently each one ends. First, the real numbers, because the internet is full of made-up ones. Average monthly expenses for a typical household. Rent, groceries, insurance, utilities, the basics, sit around $3,200. That number moves depending on where you live, but it's a reasonable middle ground for this example. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average job search in 2026 takes 24 to 26 weeks. That's not a typo, almost 6 months. The median, the point where half of job seekers land something faster and half take longer, is 11 weeks, roughly 3 months if things go well for you. Most people plan their emergency fund around the confident number, the one that sounds reasonable at a dinner party. Almost nobody plans around the real one. That's the timeline you're actually racing against. Level 1, $0 saved. 24% of Americans are standing here right now, this exact minute. Day 1, you're almost calm, severance covers the first 2 weeks, and there's a strange adrenaline-fueled optimism to job hunting when it's still fresh. Day 15, rent is due, $1,400 you don't have. It goes on a credit card at 24% interest because there's nowhere else for it to go. Day 25, groceries go on the card too. Then the phone bill, then the car insurance renewal you forgot was coming. Day 40, you check the statement and the interest alone is already over $100. Money spent on nothing, attached to a balance that keeps climbing every single week you're still searching. And there's a second cost, quieter than the first. Every missed or late payment slowly knocks points off your credit score. The same score you'll need 6 months from now to lease an apartment, finance a car, or qualify for a decent interest rate on anything at all. By the time an interview finally gets scheduled, and remember, the median wait is 11 weeks, you're not really job hunting anymore. You're managing a slowly compounding debt problem while trying to sound confident in an interview. 47% of Americans can't produce even $1,000 for an emergency. This is exactly why that number matters. Level 2, $1,000. It feels like something. It buys about 2 weeks of real breathing room, enough to cover the first shock without panic. The car repair, the copay, the security deposit refund that was supposed to show up and didn't. For a moment it genuinely works, but the math underneath it hasn't actually changed. Against $3,200 a month in expenses, $1,000 runs out before week 2 even ends. And the job search clock is still running underneath everything, median 11 weeks, average 24 to 26. So the credit card comes back out anyway, just a few weeks later than level 1, at the exact same 24% interest rate, waiting exactly where it was before. $1,000 feels like safety in the moment you build it. Against an 11-week search, the good outcome, not even the average one. It's barely a head start. It delays the spiral, it doesn't prevent it. Level 3, 3 months of expenses, around $9,600 on this budget. Something genuinely shifts here for the first time. This almost exactly matches the median job search length. You can decline the desperate, underpaid offer that shows up in week 3 out of pure panic. You start turning down recruiter calls that don't actually fit what you want, because for the first time you can afford to be a little bit picky. There's room to negotiate, room to wait an extra week for the second interview instead of jumping at the first yes. But 3 months is still a coin flip, not a guarantee. Half of all job seekers take longer than the median. If you land in that half, the countdown starts to feel very loud somewhere around week 10, watching the balance drop every time you check the app, wondering if you should have taken that first offer after all. Level 4, 6 months, about $19,200. This is the number that actually matches the real average, not the optimistic dinner party version. At 6 months, something changes psychologically, not just financially. A layoff stops being a crisis and starts being a project, something you're managing, not something happening to you. You can hold out for the role that's actually a step up, instead of taking the first offer purely out of fear of running out of runway. You can walk into a final round interview and actually negotiate, Ask for more salary, push back on the start date, maybe even ask for a signing bonus because you're not desperate anymore, you're choosing. And there's a second thing happening quietly in the background the entire time. If that $19,200 is sitting in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5%, instead of a regular checking account earning almost nothing, it's not just sitting there protecting you, it's actually growing. Over 6 months, that difference adds up to real money, not enough to change the outcome, but enough that the fund is working for you instead of just quietly shrinking under inflation while you wait. Level 5, 12 months, about $38,400. Only a small fraction of Americans ever actually reach this level. It covers even the worst-case searches, the roughly 1 in 4 job seekers who take longer than 6 months, the senior or specialized roles where the search can stretch toward a year. But somewhere around this level, the conversation stops being about the layoff at all. 12 months of Runway isn't really an emergency fund anymore, it's leverage. It means you could leave a bad job on your own terms before you're forced to. Start something of your own. Take 3 months off between roles instead of scrambling into the next one out of fear. Simply wait for the right offer, on your terms, instead of the first one that happens to show up. Here's the part most people don't expect. Most financial advisors don't actually recommend stopping at level 5. Money sitting entirely in cash for a full year has a real cost of its own. It isn't invested, it barely keeps pace with inflation, and every extra dollar parked there is a dollar not compounding somewhere else. The number that actually matches the 2026 job market, the real average, not the hopeful one, is level 4. 6 months. That's not a coincidence, and it's not just something advisors repeat out of habit. It's the same math the labor data has been quietly pointing to this whole time. 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, not a brokerage account, not a shoebox under the bed, liquid, boring, and ready the moment you actually need it. Getting there isn't about one big decision. It's a slow, unglamorous habit, a set amount moved automatically every single payday long before you ever need it. So before that meeting invite ever shows up on your calendar, because for millions of people, this year it will. Which level are you actually standing on right now?